everyone. This is actually, surprisingly, episode 6. I've stuck with this of Chasing Passion. I know that I have about a minute and a half to grab your attention, so we're going to get right into it. Please engage with content, subscribe, do something to let me know if I'm going in the direction people want. Today is a very big day for me because I have Mistress Chief on the show, and this is something that I cold called. I mean, I didn't call, but I DM'd on Instagram and we set this up. She was kind enough to just do it on a whim with knowing very little about me. And I think it's going to be really great. Now, Mistress Chief, you love Halo. Halo is your thing. Obviously, your
Yeah.
room is like fantastic. It's kind
Thank
of
you.
something, my brother, we have the Funko headquarters up here, and
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it's right down the street from my house. And my brother, who lives in Colorado, he collects all of those things. So I really love people that when they get into something, they invest into it and they put money into it and they collect things. And throughout the episode, we're going to spend time talking about how you even got into this in the first place. But I just think it's super, super, super cool. You do Instagram, you do Twitter, you do Mixer. You have been doing a YouTube show called Cooking with Chief, which is really funny and awesome, and the food looks great. I was a chef for a long time in a hotel, and it's awesome. Your Instagram account is up to 15,000, I think now, right? 15. Yeah,
It's so close.
it's
It's
really
just a
blown
couple
up,
off.
and I think that you have a mindset that's similar to mine, where you're just like trying things and you're kind of dabbling, and your YouTube is starting to get going. You're already doing a lot of production on YouTube, and I often think that there's a lot of negativity in the world, and I feel like there's a lot of people that want to try to get into something, but they're afraid, or they want to get judged, or they think that people are going to look at them badly. So I really like to meet people that are just like, you know what, I'm doing what I want to do. I'm doing what actually makes me happy right now. And for you, that happens to be Halo. So let's get into it. Like, give your origin story.
Okay, so I'm gonna try to condense this down because it's kind of long. My origin story is pretty much I was 4 years old, flipping through my big dinosaur computer that my parents had. It was way outdated at the time, and I saw an ad for Halo saying play free online now to like try it out. And I was 4 years old. I barely knew how to play sports, but I was like, this looks so cool. I want to try it. Look at his helmet. It looks spacey. It looks like sci-fi, and I loved it. I just instantly fell in love with it. I spent the next 3 hours trying to download it, and then I realized that my computer couldn't handle it. So, basically from that point I did research, hours and hours of research on the game, back like all the way back to talking about the precursors, the lore of it. And then I finally was able to convince my parents, who are very against video games, to get me an Xbox when I was 10 years old. And that was right around just when the anniversary version of Halo CE came out. So I wasn't able to play it, but I was that person that watched CE unravel and watched all the videos about it. I wasn't able to play it, but I still felt like I was
Sure.
there. But after that, it just basically was history. I got over 3,000 hours on Halo Reach, and just grinded out the
That's
motions, you know?
great. So
Yeah.
what's your favorite Halo of all of them?
CE.
CE?
It's the first one I played, so I really enjoyed it, but also it's because of the suspense. There's all the other ones, you kind of know what's going to happen. You know that the flood's going to come, you know that all this, you just know. But
Yeah.
with CE, when you play it, you're wondering when they're gonna pop up. It's more of like this horror scene because you hear this scary music, but it's a first-person shooter that's horror, but
Yeah.
not horror. It's just mainly suspense. It was a really cool experience for me, and coming into Halo playing the first one was just almost a angelic experience for me
Yeah.
because how much I loved it. So that was my favorite story, but Halo Reach was my favorite multiplayer just because of, all the lobbies and everything that was available at the time for the community. I really enjoyed.
Yeah, so I had a similar background in the sense that My dad wasn't super into video games, and he wasn't super supportive of it when I was young, and I really had to pick PlayStation or back then it was Nintendo 64 for me. So I had to pick between which one I was going to keep because I had all these systems, and my dad was like, "Oh, well, you have to get rid of all of them except for one, and you can keep one." And so I kept the PlayStation, so I was a little bit behind, but then I've played Halo 1, 2, 3, 4 and Reach. And I would definitely say I haven't played 5.
Good. Don't do it. Don't do it.
but
Uh,
but Reach was definitely is my favorite.
yeah.
So yeah, I like that it was kind of different from all the other games. I like that the story. I thought that the scene at the very end when you're kind of left there and it kind of plays out the way that it plays out, that it was super iconic. My next question I think would be, what was it about Halo as a story? You know, everybody kind of has their generational niches. Some people are really into Star Wars. Some people are really into Lord of the Rings. Some people are, everybody are into Game of Thrones as like their thing. Why did Halo as a story become your thing?
Well, first it was just curiosity because anything that piques my interest, like any story, like that's why I've recently got into Warhammer 40K because I was like, whoa, what's the story of it? It looks so cool.
Yeah,
It looks so cool. But it was the mystery of it.
yeah,
Like, it intrigued me. I'm like, okay, what is this backstory? Like, I saw all these videos about it, people playing, like, just, snippets of the actual story, but I wanted to actually be a part of it. And then as I dug deeper into the lore, I got more and more intrigued because there's so many holes in the lore for your mind to wander on what could have happened to that either species or a certain war that happened that you don't really know quite how it ended. It just really piqued my interest. And even now, I can still dig into lore and be completely mind boggled about the detail, but also the mystery that still is in the lore.
yeah. That's
So,
crazy.
yeah.
How did your love of Halo kind of develop from something where you were just playing a game into like what you have behind you?
So it started about 3 years ago, actually, literally 3 years ago and a few days. I My brother got me a Halo hoodie, which do I have it? I'm not sure if I have it here, but it's a Halo UNSC hoodie. And it was the first thing I ever got that was Halo. Then, like, some of my friends gave me action figures because they heard that I loved Halo. And they're like, oh, I have this old Hayabusa that has no hand. I don't want it anymore. And I'm like, hey, I'll take it. I don't care if it doesn't have a hand. I'll pretend it got chopped off by like an energy sword or something. um, and then I just like when Halo 4 came out, that's when it really started. When Halo 4 came out, 343 really pushed a lot of merchandise, which was really exciting for me being a collector. I love merchandise and I bought everything. Now I was only like 16, like 15 and 16.
Sure.
So I opened all of them, but I but now I know not to do that.
That's so
Um
funny.
yeah. So right now I'm trying to go back and find all the ones that I opened that are unopened so
Yes.
I can have an opened one that I can play with and pretend that they're fighting because I'm a child. And then I can have an unopened section that just sits there and looks pretty. So but besides that, it really blew up after I moved out. I got my own job, my own apartment. My job paid pretty well. So I was able to have, around $400 extra a month to be able to spend on whatever I wanted, and all of it went to Halo.
That's great.
So I just sometimes I would buy just like $50, like a bunch of $50 action figures, or I would save up for a few months and buy, like a $600, $700,
Sure.
statue. So yeah, just a Halo fund, I guess.
What's your favorite, other than the hoodie that you got, what is your single favorite piece of memorabilia that you have?
Oh gosh. Honestly, so it's not a single piece. It is actually I'm not sure if you can see them, but I have a complete set of kneeling and running and Halo busts. And those are my babies. Like I have like the steel, red, blue, and Master Chief colored ones, and they just complete my life. I'm a completionist when it comes to that stuff, and it's just
That's so
yeah.
fantastic. So you do a lot of work with social media, and my question to you is, how do you, I assume that you have a regular job, and how do you manage how do you manage your time to do all the YouTube videos? Do you do all of your own editing? Do you have someone that helps you? Like how do you manage all of
So, a lot of coffee,
it?
but I have a schedule. Like, I literally have a whiteboard that's behind my door right here that it literally says, okay, like, this is my schedule for today. Like, this is when I have to work out. This is when I have to cook dinner. This is when, like, I have to do all this other stuff. And this is when I have to edit. So, usually, what I do is when it comes to like my longer streams, I usually don't edit them because I don't have the time to edit them. Most people like to see just the full stream, everything that happens so they feel like they were there.
Yeah,
But usually I just record in smaller increments and that
sure.
usually helps. You don't need this when you're as small as me on YouTube, you don't need these massive videos, these 10-minute videos because monetization doesn't apply to me yet.
Yes.
But when that comes up, you can just cut less out and just try to find the somewhat mediocre content
Yeah.
and kind of throw it in there too.
Yeah,
Um,
I totally understand what you're saying.
yeah.
So is this kind of a goal of yours? Because you have seem to have a knack for it. Like I was watching some of your, was it either Instagram Live that you posted to YouTube, or it was either YouTube Live where you were doing some giveaways, and you're very committed to it. Like I remember there was an episode where you were a little bit ill, but you were still there and you were still doing it.
Yeah.
So is it a goal for you eventually to like monetize through some sort of social media?
It's like it would always be nice because like I spend like last time I did giveaways, I spent, hundreds of dollars giving away all these things to the community, and I want to be able to do that more frequently. I would like to actually do it every single week if I could.
Sure.
Um, and being monetized and getting sponsors and things like that would just allow me to give back to the community. It's always been a really big goal of mine to, help other people because I feel like there's so many people out there that are so misunderstood just because of what they like, and I feel like that's just wrong, and I want to give them a sense of belonging and just that communal feel that it's okay, you can be who you are and like what you like, and you'll still have a fantastic friend circle. And that's why I also created the Discord, is so that people can just, I have a rant chat and like events chat so people can just like be like, I hate it today, and people can kind of get common hatreds toward things and also have common likes. So it's
Well,
just nice.
I mean, I definitely will say that I've noticed from a little bit. I didn't want to come into the interview with you like I wanted to consume enough of your content to kind of understand you at least a little bit, because that's for me, that's what interests me, is learning about the people. Like I don't get to game now as much as I used to, but gaming has always been a passion of mine throughout my entire life. When I was younger and people in my family were sick, I would play games, and that was my therapy for me. Was I would go and I would escape into this world where there's nothing quite like gaming, especially when you're engaging in a story content where uh, you get to interact, and you have to have a certain level of skill to unlock more of the story, and so you get this double pleasure of like I accomplished something and I'm getting this narrative and I can kind of escape. This is like the allure of like games like Skyrim, where you can go into a world. But I noticed that when I was looking at all of your social media content, that you are actually really good at engaging with your community, which I think is super, super, super awesome. Like your giveaways, and you're always mixing it up. When did you transfer your passion for Halo as a game into like transferring it over to social media, because some people, they're passionate about something but then they just kind of keep it to themselves, whereas definitely have utilized this skill that you clearly have of like being able to interact with people and organize things and organize your time, that you can put out all this content. So how did like your both of those things kind of meet with each other?
So, I started posting when I was like 13, 14 years old. Back then, I was that nerdy kid that was 300 pounds with pimple face, and so, back then it was very like, yeah, but back then it was very interesting because like I had some like solid friends, and those friends that I had that interacted with me then are still my friends today. Um, but I'm always trying to open my circle and help people because there's a lot of people out there that just feel like they're never going to either find someone that has same interests in like a romantic relationship and they're worried about that, or they're never going to find friends that they can interact with and have that special bond like, the boys,
Yeah,
and
it's true.
um and I feel like if I can help at least one person smile and make their life a little bit better, then like I've done my job
Sure.
because I wanted that more than anything when I was struggling through high school was just like bullying and being overweight and just depression. And so
Sure.
I want to be able to give back to those people that helped me and also give back to people like that were in the community that just deserved to have, a happier life.
Sure.
And so I just started posting, and I kind of fell off for a bit, but I realized, what, this was my dream. My parents were very against any type of like social media, gaming, any type of interaction besides pretty much the family and
Yeah.
a few friends. So after I moved out, I really just prioritized and just saw what I really wanted to do with my life. And after doing like welding school, no one would hire me around here because I was a female, and it's a very very conservative area, which is like I like being in conservative areas, but I wish I could get a job welding, but it's okay. Uh, but I decided to put more of my time into this and try maybe help this grow while I'm trying to find a dream job in welding.
Sure.
So that's just kind of how it transitioned. Is I just went after it. I gained confidence and said, "What the heck? What can go wrong? If anything does go wrong, then whatever. At least I tried." You can't go after something and not give it your all, and that's so I just decided to give it my all.
That's
Yeah.
I'm really glad that you mentioned the welding aspect, because I thought that that was something that was completely unique to you and I totally forgot it. So I'm glad that you mentioned it. How did that come about? Like that you're like into welding?
um so I lived in Taos, New Mexico, and the Spanish class there was kind of a joke because everyone knew Spanish there, and I was here like they didn't do anything in Spanish class. It was pretty much just like an elective hour for social talking. I don't know, but and and so I was just like, I'm gonna fail this class because they actually test, and I'm like, I don't know Spanish, so because I'm obviously I'm not Hispanic, so we'll see how this goes. So I ended up dropping that class, and there was nothing. There was literally nothing, and there was I think like some social justice class or something and welding and a few other classes, and my parents were like, "You're not doing welding," but I'm like, I am. I'm a tomboy. I'm doing this." They did this same thing when I started playing football. They're like, "You're not playing football," and I'm like, "Bet." Like, we're gonna see. um so I just got into that, and I was like, you know what? Why not? Again, like you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And I thought, it's free. It's an elective. Why not take it? Um, and after that, I did it for 3 years and had an amazing teacher when I moved up to Cheyenne, Wyoming. And he just kind of fueled that. He helped me get first in state for welding sculpture and 16th nationally. I
Wow.
was I was 3 points away from scoring third, though, and I was so sad because it was just some little notebook things. It wasn't even technical,
Yeah.
so just but anyway, so it was just a really cool experience. And after that, I always wanted to do just something very artsy with welding, and so I went to welding school and learned how to, weld pipe and lay bead, and
Wow.
just learned how to do that stuff.
This is just this interview with you, and what I notice is that, and I've noticed this with many of my other interviews as well that I did before this, where as the interview goes on and you get more relaxed, it becomes, and I get more relaxed because it's very nerve-wracking for me as well, that it becomes just like, it's amazing. Like, this is going, for not knowing that much about your content and what you do and not having any sort of preliminary conversation about this, like, your mindset is just really like spot on. Because my next question, I think, for you, and I actually did a bad thing, I didn't even prepare my notes for this particular episode, and this is all going off the cuff, but my next question for you is, uh, where did you get the mindset from of, I'm going to take risks in spite of what my family thinks? Because a lot of people, I think, they value the opinion of their parents really highly. And if their parents say to them, hey, don't do this thing, then they'll just not do it. And so, but you're different because multiple times during the interview so far, you've said, my parents weren't that into gaming and they said, you're not doing welding. And you just went ahead and did it basically with little to no support, and you just put yourself out there.
Yeah, I mean, I do like value like the basic opinions of my parents, but when it comes to like technical stuff, I think, they lived in a different age. What they think is good is completely flopped nowadays. Everyone's moving to more social media, to more entertainment. Like more jobs have been given to like upcoming kids to YouTube
Yeah.
than any other like thing. And they've been like YouTube has been supplying jobs for all these kids that are just trying to pursue their dreams. And people just don't realize how the times are changing. And yes, like I appreciate my parents' opinion, but I also think that um like they don't it's not their fault that they don't understand. They grew up in a different era, and you kind of just have to do what you want to do. You're not living your parents' life, you're living your life.
Yeah.
And also, I guess just reading a lot of motivational books really helped, because it said if you don't take risks, you're never going to get anywhere in life. You can play it safe or you can live. And I decided to, go ahead and live instead of just existing. So, yeah.
Wow. So what are, because this is just, you're just in the vein of the things that I'm currently doing right now. What are some of the motivational books, if you can remember, that you've read?
Well, I really liked Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah.
I really liked just I'll send you a link of them,
Sure.
but I have a bunch of Audible books because Audible is amazing, and it's just there's all these books talking about like making your bed in the morning. I can't remember what it's called, but it's making your bed in the morning. It's just saying you
Yeah,
need to.
it was the book by the guy that was an admiral, I
Yes,
believe.
it's so good.
I just recently read that one a few days ago. So that's just crazy that we're reading the same things. My next question for you that we haven't touched on is, you've done cosplay.
Mhm.
You've competed.
Yeah.
Right. So like, that's something that I have like zero idea about anything about it at all. And for the fear of sounding ignorant, like, you make your own stuff, and
I do have a little bit of help here and there, like with my more intense cosplays, like this one. I had an extreme amount of help. Like they made
wow.
the majority of like this part, but I made more of the LED systems for it. I made that. I also made the Cortana boombox module for it, and that was the thing that actually made me win the competition in the end. But I did make some of it. Like, could you hand me that? Thank you. Like right now I'm making a Hollow Knight cosplay, and this is a headpiece that I'm working on just for Hornet from Hollow Knight, just because it's a new game that I'm into. But it's just EVA foam and time and dedication. Honestly, people are just too afraid to go after it because they're afraid of failure. Um, no one that has ever succeeded hasn't failed before. And that's how the more times you fail, the better chance you have at succeeding. So just try and try again. That's all I can say. Um, but honestly, if you ever like look at my page, I have a bunch of links to other cosplayers that are really good and do in-depth tutorials on just basic foam smithing. And all of the people that are, asking about cosplaying in my DMs, I'll always link them up with a bunch of different cosplayers
Sure.
that they can just go on their YouTube. I do eventually want to lean towards more cosplay once I get a little bit more experienced and feel more comfortable with it, because I just got a bunch of new little gadgets like a heat gun and stuff like
Sure.
that. So, but yeah, that's all I can say is just go for it.
So what's it like being at one of these competitions with a bunch of other people that are also as into it as you are, and like kind of connecting and networking in that way? And they actually like the entire competition experience itself.
Well, I'm not really quite new to the competition scene because I did do Miss Wyoming a few years back. Um, but definitely, it was so cool meeting people like me.
Sure.
I always felt like I was such like I feel like my spirit animal is that um you know 3 foot tall nerd dude that's like super scrawny and has like a speech impediment and has like pimples over their face, because that's how I feel. Like because
That's really funny.
I feel like no one understands me, but being there, I was like, oh my gosh, everyone here is like me. We were talking Halo, we were talking Halo lore, we were being like, oh my gosh, like look at what you did with this cosplay, look at how you did this LED system, this is incredible. And then we'd talk about our favorite anime shows, and
Sure.
it felt like I was meant to be there. I felt finally like that was the place I was supposed to be. It was a dream come true. And always gets so nervous with those because they're like, oh my gosh, there's all these people that are like really big in the Halo community, but you have to realize they're just people like you. They're doing it just like you. They're all really chill. Like World's Tallest Spartan, I got to meet him, which I can't remember his new name now, but he's a super chill guy. I wanted to meet him for years, and I finally did. And I got to meet Nick Yesla, which made the elite costume, which won first place. And every single one of them, I still talk to them today, and they're really close friends of mine now. And all I can say is, don't be afraid to do competitions, even if you're a beginner. Like I saw people up there, that was their first suit that they made, and yes, there needed a lot of improvements, but you can tell the hard work and dedication they put into that. And the people that were judging let them know that, this is great for your first time. Keep doing it. Don't stop.
That's great.
And so there was a lot of positivity there, and I really appreciated it.
That's
So,
amazing. So as we're wrapping this interview up, I would say your Instagram is almost, I would say that's your most popular platform right now.
mhm.
And your Instagram has gotten up to almost 15,000 followers. And how has that impacted your life?
um, it's it's kind of scary because I'm like, oh my gosh, like there's 15,000 people that are looking to me for motivation, for, just like any little thing. And it's kind of like nerve-wracking because I have to think, okay, now what I am posting, is it appropriate? Am I not offending anyone? Am I putting this out? Will this help someone in need that is going through a tough situation? So it's also put a lot of weight on my shoulders, but it's also made me feel like I have an opportunity to change something for the better. And that's always been my goal, is just to help other people and really change the community and bring it back to life.
That's crazy. So what has it been like engaging with many of the people? Because I assume as you started to gain in followers, people saw you wearing the Halo shirts, and it kind of like started escalating. More and more people started reaching out to you and sending you messages, because even if 1/10 of the people that were following you sent you a DM, like it's a lot of DMs that are going straight to you. How has it been like managing that, and how has it been engaging with some of the people that are you would consider your fans?
Yeah, it's really cool. First of all, talking to my fans because I heard that one of my fans, he puts my streams up in his EMT lounge, and for all the people that are kind of having rough days and they have a nice laugh, and that changed my life, honestly. Hearing that like I'm helping these adults cope with, sadness in their lives, and then also having 6-year-old kids say, "Oh my gosh, like you're hilarious. Thank you for putting out those videos." It makes me think that I should probably be a little more child friendly, but it's just so cool. But when it comes to like the messages and the DMs, it's definitely a challenge because one of my biggest things is to make sure that none of my followers feel left out. I want them to feel very engaged with me, and that's again why we created the Discord, so we can just have massive chats and I can pop in every now and then
Sure.
and just communicate with a few of them and then just talk, because there is a lot of DMs that they don't even see my channel. They just see that I'm a chick and they're like, "Oh, hi, are you a gamer?" I'm like, "No, I don't game. What are you talking about?" And
that's that's so funny. Now, well, I mean,
yeah,
like I said to you before we started the call, someone out here in Seattle knew who you were. And they like I hadn't like there was no preliminary conversation. I just said, "Oh, I'm going to be interviewing her tonight." And they said, "Oh, we know who that is." So it's your impact is like slowly starting to expand out, and I it can be kind of a heavy thing, it can be a lot, like you're considering every single post and you're considering everything that you do, and you have to be a little bit more tactical about it, like than you were before, relative
yeah,
to where you were before, because before you just were doing, oh, this isn't impacting that much, and then all of a sudden now it's kind of getting serious now.
yeah.
So I'm trying to think if I have anything else. So you're on Mixer.
hmm
Do you stream regularly?
Yes, I usually stream every Friday and Saturday. This Friday I won't be able to stream, but I will be doing probably a Sunday morning mixer just to try to make up for that. I
Sure.
want to start streaming midday on Wednesday also, and just really trying to get that going because I don't want to just have 2 days where I'm streaming back to back. I want to have some, you know, decent time in between it, and just so people can view it more versus the people that are busy maybe on Friday and Saturday. So
Sure.
yeah.
Well, I mean, you've been kind of giving motivation throughout the entire episode, but and you kind of have covered it. And even though it's going to sound a little bit redundant, the question is still worth asking. What advice do you have to people that are getting into something for the first time and they're not sure whether they should pursue it or not? What would you say to those people?
Well, all I have to say is that if you don't try it, you're never gonna know. Um, you you can try it and it could turn out great, or it could literally turn out terrible, but at least you tried it, and don't give up on the first try. It took me literally years to finally be able to be where I'm at today. And I just feel like having that confidence in yourself. Each person is individual and they have their own perfect personality. Like, grow on that. Don't try to change yourself. Try to be you. And just the fact of you being you makes you special and gives you that niche in the community. You can do and be whatever you want as a person. You just need to realize that power within you and just go at it and have faith in yourself that you can do whatever you put your mind to.
Oh, that's great. I mean, and I think that that's a good way to end it. Like I said, I look over everything that you have in your room, which, by the way, once again, I think is fantastic. I love people that have collections. Uh, Really, it is about a lot of it is about mindset. For me, this show has been about pushing myself to do something that I feel super uncomfortable with, and I definitely would say that like reaching out to you, setting this up, and then making this happen completely within less than a week's notice, uh, was terrifying for me because I'm very, like, I'm a gamer. I'm very introverted. I like to sit at my computer. I like to be left alone. You know, when my wife and my kid go to bed, I like to go into my little space and go inside my own mind. And so I would 100% agree with your philosophy that if you want a different result, you have to try different things. And just like a few months ago, I never would have imagined that this is the point that I would have gotten to where I was DMing you and then we were setting up an interview and then we were recording the interview and then we were posting it and a couple hundred people were watching it. So I definitely 100% agree. You can see the progression as my show. You don't really know where it's going to go when you first start off with it. You just are doing it because you enjoy it. When I first started making YouTube content to try to figure myself out, it didn't look anything like this right now. I made a series before this called Talk Therapy Through Gaming where I was leaving something behind for my son, and that was the initial idea. And I would talk for the first 5-10 minutes, and then I would play some game that was important to me, and then I would go back to the community. And I think this is something I've already touched on with you, where I would go to the community and I would say, what do you like? What do you don't like? You know, what are you actually engaging with? And for me, it's easy because my community is around me, whereas you have to do a lot of yours online. But people would say, well, we don't really care about the gaming content that much. We're mostly listening to you talk, and we're listening to you talk back and forth with people. And so then I shifted my show into what this is now, and it's gotten a much better response. So I definitely think that pushing yourself and just keep going, and then who knows, in 6 months, I'll get a little bit better gear. You know, I get my internet set up a little better, the quality's a little better. This is the same for you. Every time you do it, it's just going to go a little bit smoother, and then in a year, you're not even going to recognize, you know, those original streams where you're doing things. So I 100%
Yeah.
agree. Do you have anything else you want to leave the people with, or are you?
I do want to say one thing. It I still have troubles with like technology and technical difficulties and everything when it comes to my videos and just getting some good content because there's some times where I record 3 hours and I feel like I don't have any good content.
Yeah.
What I have to say is literally just don't stop because I have sat in the corner and cried because I lost 3 hours of footage I worked so hard on because it corrupted. But that's why it filters down to so many people, and that's why you don't see everyone YouTubing and making these videos and content creating is because they give up and they don't just push through it and realize that, you know what, I'm doing this for me so I can have, you know, a therapy session of getting my mind out onto paper and
Sure.
into a creation video. So
Well,
that's
yeah,
how, yeah.
a therapy session is exactly right. You know, that's a lot of times when I'm done with these episodes, people will say it kind of feel like telling your whole origin story and reminding yourself of how far you've come and where you started off at, and like that you're like much tougher than you think you are. So thank you so, like, genuinely thank you so much for doing this. It's been really great. It's gone really well. uh, I will leave obviously information when I end up posting this down in the description where you can find Mistress GFAD so you can go access her. I obviously will be posting it on my social media when it's ready to go, to spread the love. Cool people around doing cool things, and just stay with me and we'll do another episode. All right, bye everyone.